Cross Guild needs new members. They are one of the main forces competing for the One Piece with Luffy, Shanks, Blackbeard, and the world government. And while they have some truly notable manpower in their ranks, namely Mihawk and Crocodile, it seems like right now they are by far the weakest faction out of everyone. Meaning that Oda will 100% end up giving them a bunch of broken new members to even out the playing field. And so today I want to discuss the 15 characters most likely to join Cross Guild and help Buggy become Pirate King, starting with none other than the heavenly demon, Don Quixote Doflamingo. When it comes to powerhouses that have nothing going on right now, this guy is number one. Who knew that prisoners would have so much time on their hands, right? Now, one of the few former warlords that we're gonna talk about today, Dofi has been hinted at as a Cross Guild member for quite a while now. As far back as chapter 560 during Marineford, we've actually seen Doflamingo, who had a relationship with both Crocodile and Mihawk. In that same chapter, we actually see all three of them pop up, and it may just be the first glimmer of hope that one day they'd become a merry crew of their own. And in addition to all of that, we actually see a few chapters later in 565 that Doflamingo actually tried to recruit Sir Crocodile at some point in the past as well. Let me tell you, it would have been a great ironic twist if he had to come crawling back to Crocodile now asking to join him instead. And coincidentally enough, I think Buggy is actually the one shown leading the charge on page 11 of that same chapter, so possibly a hint that he'd become their ally and their great leader someday. Well, I mean, could be some god tier Goda foreshadowing right there if that were to be the case. Now, obviously, Doflamingo would drastically boost the power level and status of this crew. With advanced Haki and an awakened devil fruit, he's an absolute powerhouse who fits in with the criminal empire that Buggy and Crocodile are forming as well. Being formerly known as Joker, he has strong ties to the underground as well. Plus, in addition to him, you'd also get someone like, say, Sugar to join as well. She's of course a complete monster in her own right and would be able to get some revenge on God Usopp as Cross Guild battles for the One Piece. But maybe most importantly though, Doflamingo might just be the perfect narrative tie to help Cross Guild go from a normal Yonko crew to a world government threat unlike any other out there. And that's because we learned in chapter 906 that he's discovered the national treasure of Marijoa while he was still a celestial dragon. And right after he says that, Emu is shown for the first time, as well as this massive straw hat. Meaning that this former celestial dragon knows something big, and it might completely change the One Piece world once he reveals it to Cross Guild. After all, power does go bad really quickly, so you might as well spoil the surprise right now, Dofi, I think, personally. Now, as I said earlier, he will not be the only warlord on this list that will make a huge impact. And the one being teased to join Cross Guild the most out of all of them, I think, is none other than Gekko Moria. After escaping from the pirate island Hachinoso from Blackbeard, he's got nowhere else to run now. Perona did end up freeing him, and there's only one other person that she has connections to at this point in the story, that of course being Dracul Mihawk. Meaning that she and Moria might well be on their way straight to the Cross Guild, ready to help them claim the One Piece. Now, a big piece of evidence that actually points to this is from the special chapter 565.5, where we see a bunch of young warlords at Roger's execution. A series of panels all spread out depicting 5 specific characters, Mihawk, Crocodile, and Buggy, alongside Doflamingo and, you guessed it, Gekko Moria. Now, even though this special chapter was just a bit of promotional material for the film Strong World, I think Oda may have well been hinting at the greatest crossover crew in the history of One Piece over a decade ahead of schedule here. And maybe Cross Guild is just what Moria needed right now to bounce back from his gutting defeat at the hands of Kaido and then Luffy. And with Luffy and Blackbeard currently leading the race for the One Piece, Moria has twice the chances for revenge. Meaning that we could actually see him return to his prime form, summoning shadow armies of dead characters to wreak absolute havoc. But we'll get to that point a little bit later, because for now, it'll just give Moria a chance to show us what he's truly capable of, and much like Sugar, give Perona a chance to get her revenge on, again, the brave warrior of the sea, Usopp. And of course, there are also a bunch of other terrifying warlords and pirates that will join Cross Guild as well. People with truly insane devil fruit powers will make this crew beyond broken when they finally compete for the One Piece, but before we get to all of them, there is one character who shares a very common thread with Doflamingo that I quickly wanted to talk about. You see, Doflamingo is in Impel Down right now, and he said something in chapter 906 that may hint at a world government beast joining Cross Guild as well. Is this meant to protect me, Magellan? Because yeah, we're definitely going there. I think there's a chance that the former warden of Impel Down becomes a turncoat and ends up joining Cross Guild. Okay, hear me out. With all the recent major reveals about the Gorosei, Emu, and the world government flooding the world, I think there's actually room for some world government soldiers to finally start flipping sides as well. We've seen it happen with Kuzan and Shiryu already, and I think that Vegapunk's broadcast was designed to plant these seeds of rebellion anyway. So who's to say that Magellan, someone who constantly gets blamed by the world government for Blackbeard and Luffy's mess, just ends up turning coat and joining up with the pirates as well. Especially if he realizes that the system that he's been working for is no better than them anyways. And let me remind you that officially Magellan is absolutely undefeated in this series with wins over both Luffy and Blackbeard. He truly strikes fear into the hearts of 2 Yonko already, meaning that Cross Guild just needs this man bet. I mean, whatever he really is. Also, and I know this might be a bit of a stretch considering his powerful haki, but I never said it had to be by choice. Maybe Doflamingo just uses his strengths and manipulates him in a moment of weakness during another massive prison break, or well, we just keep seeing these two together in the manga. Maybe they're just buddies now or something. It's still very possible. All I do know is that his brutal poison would absolutely give Buggy and the crew an insane power-up and massive trump cards. But speaking of moments of weakness, I think there's actually 2 dudes chilling at the bottom of the ocean right now who might be prime choices for this crew as well. I'm talking about former Captain Eustass Kid and his right hand, or I guess maybe his left arm, Killer. Now, it may be a little bit hard to imagine Kid working under anyone, especially someone like Buggy here, but if his thirst for revenge is greater than his ego, well, we might actually be in business here. Remember, we have actually seen him form a alliance to take down a Yonko before, so maybe this time it's Luffy and Shanks who are the people that he's gonna headhunt. The Worst Generation is pretty much a group built on being prominent pirates, but only a small handful actually have made a huge difference in the endgame of the story so far. Really, out of anyone in the Worst Generation, Luffy and Blackbeard are the only ones with real chances of claiming the One Piece, at least according to the final double-page spread of chapter 1121. This panel shows 12 characters and literally reads the person who lays claim to the One Piece. And well, you know who isn't there? It's Kid. But you know who is? Buggy the Clown, the leader of Cross Guild. What I'm trying to say here is that if Kid and his little buddy Killer want to actually become the greatest pirates, they will need to work with Buggy, which actually would be incredibly helpful to this clown here anyways, because they're strong pirates who would definitely help out. With Killer's insane armament haki capable of damaging Kaido and Kid's awakened devil fruit abilities capable of taking out Big Mom, they would really come in clutch for this Yonko crew in my opinion as well. I mean, just imagine combining his punk moves and magnetism with Buggy to create this massive clown mech robot thing out of their new Cross Guild ship, for example. Or Killer and Das Bones shredding everything in sight. I mean, the potential here admittedly is truly wild. However, there's actually one more member of the Worst Generation that makes even more sense for this crew in my opinion. Someone with a possible secret connection to the most reality warping character that I'm gonna be talking about towards the end of this video. We're talking about Capone Bege, the master mafioso. Now, we haven't really seen him him do anything of significance since the end of Whole Cake Island, and I think that that's because he's preparing to join the greatest pirate crew in the world. For one, his clear mafia boss design and crew dynamics would work incredibly well with Sir Crocodile's vision of a utopia. Plus, if Doflamingo ended up joining after all, we'd have all the greatest crime lords all together on one crew. They would practically be the One Piece version of the Yakuza. And then of course we also have to talk about his incredible devil fruit and how that would be contributing to the crew. I mean, a lot of fighters on this crew are great warriors. Mihawk, Crocodile, and even Mr. One can deal a lot of damage, single-handedly wiping out ships with a single strike, crushing marines with a single glance, and obviously rivaling Red Hair Shanks in Hawkeye's case as well. But so far they don't really have incredible defense. I mean, Crocodile's Logia powers are pretty good until a splash of water or any hockey hits him, and against the remaining Yonko squads, even Mihawk is gonna have his work cut out for him as well. Meaning that a power boosted Beige would be a master of defense with his massive castle body. If he were to return to the story with fortified armament hockey, he could be the greatest shield and defensive master in the series. However, I think there's actually another reason why he could be truly useful to the crew as well, and it's heavily connected to a surprise character on this list that I'm going to be talking about shortly. So before we get to them, let's first talk about yet another warlord of the sea, because the most beautiful woman in the world, Boa Hancock, is yet another warlord on the run in need of a strong crew to join. After battling it out with Blackbeard and the Marines, she's clearly not strong enough at the moment on her own to make it through the final saga. In fact, if it hadn't been for Rayleigh's truly insane bluff, she'd be hanging out in Davy Jones' locker at this point, or in the best case scenario, kidnapped like Pudding was. And so I think it's pretty obvious what her best course of action is as well: team up with her former colleagues for pretty much the same reason that Mihawk did. I mean, remember, Mihawk also didn't exactly join Cross Guild with any great desire to claim the One Piece or crush the Marines. He just kind of wanted to be left alone. And Boa and the Kuja pirates are kind of in a similar position here, and thanks to Rayleigh's connection to his former cabin boy Buggy, this team up could be very possible. And while we could argue that Luffy's crew might make more sense here, he's off battling Marines, destroying islands, and he is also most notably away on Elbaf, so Boa needs someone closer with a smaller target on their back right now to kind of get a break from the Marines. And of course, she's also just a complete beast. She's a Conqueror's hockey user and has a devil fruit that combos with just about every fighter in Cross Guilds. The plan is pretty simple: freeze all of the enemies, and then have Mr. One or Mihawk just slice down an entire army in one big slash. Not to mention that Buggy is definitely gonna need someone to help him find the poneglyphs and jumpstart his One Piece journey. So maybe it's a quick phone call to the Dark King and the promise to protect Boa that will actually get him everything that he needs to finally catch up to Shanks, Luffy, and Blackbeard. And since I did mention Blackbeard, I think there are actually a few former crewmates of his that may end up joining Cross Guild as well. Diamond Jozu and Vista, two of Whitebeard's top commanders, are actually both completely MIA post time skip. And while it's hinted at that Blackbeard may have potentially killed them, we all know how Oda treats death in the series, right? If it's not on screen, and even sometimes when it is, they have a really big chance to show back up. But here's the real kicker though, because they have both been shown to match Doflamingo, Crocodile, and yes, even Mihawk in terms of power and skill. Vista clashed with Mihawk at Marineford, and Jozu squared up against all three of those powerful warriors at the same time. And so I think there's a pretty decent chance that both of them might just end up joining the Cross Guild after hearing Vegapunk's message about the One Piece and to avenge Ace. Jozu is actually who Doflamingo and Crocodile fought against earlier when I was talking about their team up at Marineford. Right after he hard countered injured Mihawk Slash meant to take out Whitebeard. In a nutshell, he is just incredibly defensive and would be great in a sort of tank role for Cross Guild as well, I think. But not only him, Vista also has a pretty good reason to join, as it would give him the chance to face off against Mihawk once again as well. He could basically strike a deal with Hawkeyes to get a revenge match after the final war. He joins Cross Guild as long as he gets a chance to face off against his old rival if they claim the One Piece. But then again, we kind of know that if that actually happens, he would just actually end up serving as a nice appetizer for Zoro to fight against Unloved Tail before Mihawk, something to prepare him for his climactic battle with his former sensei. And while we're on the topic of Whitebeard, his son or clone son? Well, anyways, Weevil is yet another remaining warlord who will join this crew. In fact, he's currently also in the exact same spot as Doflamingo, captured in Impel Down and in dire need of an escape plan. And we also know by now that his mother is the original Miss Buckingham Stussy, a former Rocks pirate and possible lover of Whitebeard. Whitebeard, you absolute dog. Look at you go. I mean, I don't blame you after seeing her in the God Valley flashback, I guess. But anyhow, Weevil is an absolute beast. The dude may be a little bit dumb or slow, but he is absolutely strong, just like his papa. And that perfect balance of dumb and strong is kind of exactly what Cross Guild needs to step it up a notch. Plus, Stussy might be able to fill that same role as Rayleigh, giving Cross Guild a bunch of information about the true history of the world. I mean, let's be real, Rocks was definitely into all of that, as Sengoku himself confirmed that he committed some of the world's worst taboos, a phrase often used to describe researching the Void Century. And who knows, maybe she'll even confirm the fan theory that Buggy is actually Rox's son. Wouldn't that be something else? However, the most important part of Weevil and his mom joining the crew would be their connection to the strongest person on this list, a pirate feared by Sengoku and Garp, a man whose strength and status rivaled that of Whitebeard and Roger. I'm talking about the former member of the Rocks Pirates, Golden Lion Shiki. Alright, let's look at the facts here. He is the worst criminal to ever escape Impel Down, something 2 of the 3 founding members of Cross Guild did as well. And according to Chapter 0 of One Piece, he has been camping out in the shadows somewhere, officially. Now, while all of that was set up for the Strong World movie, it's also the same chapter that had the panel of the 5 former warlords that I talked about at the beginning of this video. And before any of you are gonna try to say that the movies aren't canon, well, you are right, but the events of these bonus chapters are. And we saw Shiki during the God Valley flashback as well, officially in the manga. He is a real thing in the story and still waiting around for something. Now, obviously, he's incredibly strong, as he captained one of the largest fleets in the history of the world. And with all of the former legends out for the count right now, this might be his time to shine now. Plus, there is a chance that he's actually the mysterious man marked by flame. So if this ends up being the case, then they're getting the final road poneglyph out of this deal as well, 2 for 1. But there's actually one even bigger hint at Shiki's chance of joining Cross Guild, because we know that his flying devil fruit powers let him get away with a lot. Like, say, lifting an entire ship out of the ocean, maybe? I've hinted at this earlier, but his powers might actually be what caused Capone Bege's ship to start floating in chapter 594, giving him a very solid connection to several different members that might join this crew. And let me just say, Oda, you genius. If this is how you plan on bringing Shiki back into the story, I am gonna be all for it. Very important, powerful, but not overtaking the main storyline. And he would be just the right level of power to bring this 4th Yonko crew to the level that they truly need to be at in order to compete. But if Shiki doesn't end up joining, you know what else would bring him up to that level? If a bunch of dead legendary pirates rose up from the dead and joined them, all thanks to Gekko Moria's shadows. Imagine it. Luffy makes it to Laugh Tale and he glances forward. He's blocked by an army of corpses and is able to see the One Piece. However, it's just barely visible through the hole in the chest of Portkas D. Ace. Let me tell you, this this is just one of the many tragic possibilities of Gekko Moria's powers. And if you really want to see what is possible and who could end up being wild last-minute additions for the final war, check out this video detailing exactly what would happen if Gekko Moria created an undead crew composed of all the One Piece legends. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching, and if you want to support the channel, help us make more videos like this, you can check out the Patreon right here, because your support really, I can't express how much it means to me and the team, because it's what allows us to make better art, more videos like this, and yeah, I mean, this is a bonus video. So yeah, if you want to get a bunch of perks, go head over there, check it out, and I will see you in the next one.